I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, October the 30th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is a bold, straight shooting telithromycin injection that does what it's supposed to do for you, for your cattle, and for your bottom line. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards, another light run, partly because the market's down and nobody wants to sell on a down market, even though the down market's still there. Next week you can sell them and it might be down again. But nobody really wants to do that. They are expecting around 4,000 head, not going to start till 7:30, which is really late for them to get started. But talked to Mark Harmon there over the weekend. He said they've been getting some rain, pretty wet around, and that's curbing receipts a little bit. Next cow and bull special sale they're going to have is November the 15th on a Wednesday. So if you guys have some to consign or you're interested in some bred cows and bulls, be sure and check out that sale on November the 15th at Joplin Regional Stockyards. Recovering from Manic Monday, that's what we've been doing for a week now. And you know, we weren't prepared for that. It'd been so long since we'd seen a day like that with both your cattle futures, live cattle and feeder cattle. The current month was all down over $6 in one whack, and then some of the farther out months were down even more than that. It actually tripped the daily limit on one of the traded months of live cattle, and then most of us didn't know it was going to do that. But the whole cattle sector, live and feeder cattle, could go the next full up daily limit, which was $10 on fat cattle and $12.25 on feeder cattle. I don't think many of us realized that, but luckily it didn't do that. It came back some live cattle on Tuesday, and then things kind of moderated out. Wednesday we actually saw an up market, but you know, by the time we got to the end of the week, your October live cattle, which are done now, they're mature, they were only down 27 cents. Your fat cattle in the cash market in the Southern Plains actually sold steady with what they'd sold the week before. So, you know, it wasn't a complete mess, but everybody's fear was probably the worst thing. But it did hurt the market on the things that we have the most of, which is calves right now, because everybody wants to spring or winter calf and have these big fat 600-pound calves to sell right now, all at the same time, all when they're getting sick the most, and we just got more than we can choke of them. And a lot of those big calves were $20 lower this past week than they were the previous week. That's what happens whenever you have a big fall off like that. You get fear, you get fewer orders out there, and then the guys that have the best orders or the most money are going to buy the cattle that they like the best, the ones that are the longest weaned, the ones that are the best quality, the ones that have the best weigh up, the ones that hit all the bells and whistles, and so then everything else is just going to fall off that much more. But a big fat ball and calf was sure $20 cheaper in most of your sales all over the country this past week than they were the week before, and it was all because of the Monday board being down so much, which was largely because of the bearish cattle on feed report, which some of us think is a little bit suspect. But you know, by the time we had cooler heads prevail through the week, we still know that we've got extremely tight supplies of market-ready finished cattle. We know that we have really tight supplies of all classes of cattle, including slaughter cows. And they've been going down here the last couple of weeks because you know, your big ranches are bringing those cattle up just to get those calves either weaned or sell them right off the cow. They're preg testing those cows. They're shipping their open cows to the cow packers, and they've got more numbers of them right now. And I've been hearing, and I don't know how much there is to it, but I've had several people tell me in the northern plains, there are way more open cows this year than usual. We're not exactly sure what it was. Now, they did have a lot of extreme heat back there in the summer whenever they were trying to get these cows bred, and that's probably the culprit. But that's the last thing we need, as tight as we are in cow numbers, really, is a lot more open cows. And I mean, some of these deals would be disastrous, you know, like 30-some% breds all. I mean, that's horrible. But I don't know if any of you guys that watch this are my Feeder Flash gang members are having that kind of trouble, or you're seeing that. But sure hearing a lot of open cows when they're coming in and preg testing these cows. But you know, we're in good shape for fancy, handsome markets here for the next 2 or 3 years. Still are. I think a lot of people were second guessing that even Monday with the board being down so big. But we've got tight supplies of all classes, and we've actually got unprecedented percentage of the cattle on feed that are heifers right now. It's amazing how many heifers we have on feed right now. Haven't seen hardly anybody keeping many heifers back. And you know, it's that we're not starting to rebuild yet. In fact, there's a lot of places that are still culling and still selling off. We finally did get some rain in central Texas, thanks to that hurricane that hit Mexico. But I mean, a lot of good rain all over Texas, central Texas, even South Texas, West Texas, or far West Texas. The only place that didn't get it was the Texas Panhandle. We didn't get hardly any rain up here, but I was down in Paris, Texas, working a bull sale over the weekend, and it poured the whole time I was there. Big rains. I mean, devastating, drowning, deathly rains in the Metroplex there in Dallas-Fort Worth. But you know, we're still in good shape for the long haul, and you have to look at this thing. You stand back and look at it. Don't concentrate on last Monday, for Pete's sake. But we're going to have a hard frost over most of the central part of the country this week. If you haven't already, of course, they've already had big snows up in the northern plains. They had just huge snows and shut down Yellowstone Park. And they've been plowing those roads through there. And now they've said that they're only going to have the one main road open from now through the rest of the winter in Yellowstone Park, because they had so much snow up there. And that's cattle country up there too. But everybody gets a good hard frost. We're supposed to get into the mid-20s here in the Amarillo area. So anywhere from the Texas Panhandle north is going to have hard frost. And that is going to help a lot of things. You think, well, you know, my grass is not going to grow anymore. Well, yeah, but it's going to kill a lot of these airborne illnesses that are making these calves so sick. Cattle are so much easier to straighten out after a hard frost. And a lot of people that are going to turn cattle out on wheat, now they're going to have wheat in Oklahoma, in North Texas, places like that, where they weren't sure how much wheat they're going to have. They know they're going to have wheat. They may not be able to turn them out November the 15th, but they're going to have wheat, and now they can start buying those calves after the hard frost, which is going to make them so much easier to straighten up. So they're glad of that. But, you know, it's just good to get into some crisper weather. I think that was a long, hot summer for everybody. Always liked what I heard my friend Wes Spinks say one time. He said he just likes it when it gets cooler out all the time. Everybody gets their full uniform on. You know, if a guy typically wears a vest or a jacket, he'll have that on. We can stop wearing these stupid straw hats that are mostly good for nothing. And I think there's a few people still wearing those, but we can kind of throw those away and get into our regular uniform for the fall and winter months here. But talk about your board for last week, and of course we've been talking about that since we started this, but it's so tough on Monday. And I'm still going to talk about October live cattle. It's done now, but this was the last week of it. Monday down 602. Ouch. Tuesday was up $1.75. It wanted to get better. Wednesday up $1.12. Thursday up 57 cents, and Friday up 2.30 with the strong cash fed cattle trade. And so by the time we got to the end of the week, your October live cattle contracts settled at 184. That was only down 27 cents for the week. That's nothing. December was down more. It ended the week at 182.22, down 240 for the week. February ended at 182.95. So, I mean, there were some losses. We couldn't get it all back that we lost on Monday, but I think with the algorithms and everybody's fears, we just overdid it on Monday, but it's going to take a little bit longer to get that back. November feeder cattle, and as October went off the board at 239.73, which is exactly what CME Cash Feeder Cattle Index was, which is too high. At 239, okay, right at 240, you can't hardly get that for a load of 800-pound steers, let alone singles, odd, small bunches, plainer cattle, and everything else that's supposed to make that up. It's supposed to be the average of them. They won't bring that. And a lot of people are frustrated with that, especially now that a lot more people are using the LRP, and that's what they cash in off of, is your CME Cash Feeder Cattle Index, and it's hanging way up there too high. It's it's $8 higher than your real-time index that we put together through a cash auction steers there, and typically it runs right on top of it. So I'm not sure. I think it was just a jolt when these calves started coming, and then the market slipped so much. Your market reporters are just human nature, and anytime you get humans involved in anything, you're going to start having room for error. And they just started not putting cattle in that were off the market, or calling them straight twos, or calling them medium frame, or doing something to get them out of that average to try to narrow their price spreads. But when they do that, they're kind of doing a disservice to the industry there. But November feeder cattle on your CME, Monday was down 642, Tuesday was down 37, Wednesday up 262, Thursday up $1.55, and Friday up 40 cents. Well, your November feeder cattle contract ended the week at 236.90, down 532 for the week. January ended at 235.70. Your December corn ended the week at 480 3/4. That was down 14 3/4 cents. Didn't do a whole lot to help your feeder cattle though after that big Monday. But your beans for November ended the week at 12.97 1/4, down 5. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for December ended the week at 643, down 27. Your fat cattle trade up through Thursday, 48,700, and then we had significant trade on Friday, and I think we had even more significant trade late Friday that I don't know about yet, and I can't tell you all about, but I'll tell you what I do know. Up through Thursday, we sold fat cattle in the 5-area feeding region in a negotiated manner from 180.5 to 185. That's 50 cents to $3 lower on the price spread. Your weighted average on live steers was 183.72, down 243 compared to the previous week's weighted average, but it's not going to be that much lower. We had some quite a few sales on Friday that were at the top and even higher than anything we had up through Thursday, so we're going to bring that up quite a bit by the time we get everything rounded up, and we'll give that to you on our next visit. But your dress sales in the 5 area range from 287 to 292. Your weighted average on dress steers was 290.07, down $3.50, and we're going to bring that up some too because of the Friday trade that was higher. But Iowa on Friday sold 1,700 head. They sold 30,800 head for the week. That's as much as they ever sell. So they've just been cleaning Iowa out. But live sales in Iowa on Friday from 183 to 185. That's about $1 lower. Dress sales from 287 to 290. That's about $2 to $4 lower. Nebraska, 1,500 head on Friday, 18,200 head for the week. so far, but I think they probably had some more sales late Friday, so they'll kick that up a little bit. But they had 186 was the only live price on Friday in Nebraska. We hadn't seen 186 until then. So that's the highest price, and usually the last price you get in your negotiated trade each week is the highest. Their dress trade was all at 290. That was the best we saw all week. Kansas, 7,200 head sold on Friday. 8,600 for the week, which is really light. We've been seeing some decent trade in the Southern Plains, but when they held out for steady money, which was a lot higher than what your packers started out with last week after the board was down so much, we just didn't see a whole lot of trade. But Friday, the cattle sold from 183 to 186 in Kansas, which is steady for the most part because the most prominent price was 185. Texas, 4,200 on Friday, only 5,600 head. They'll have more cattle in Oklahoma City here today on Monday than they sold in all of the feedlots in Texas, western Oklahoma, eastern New Mexico, and the Oklahoma Panhandle. That's ridiculous. They all sell in an alternative marketing agreement. That's why we don't have any leverage in the trade. It's sitting ducks all the time. But 184 to mostly all 185 in Texas. Now the Fed Cattle Exchange, which I think may end up being our only hope for any kind of competition in your Fed cattle market. They're starting to get more cattle on there all the time. They sold cattle before we saw the trade take off. They sold cattle early on Friday at 183.75 in Texas. That kind of sparked things a little bit. It got the thing kicked off. They had bids in Colorado up to 184. That was the highest they'd seen so far. That kind of kicked things up and it got the trade started, and they're starting to do that a lot more, but still not selling enough cattle on there and not getting enough cattle consigned on there to really drive the trade. But they are working hard at it through Central Stockyards, and I'm supporting them for that. Box beef cutout values were higher. Your weighted average on all of last week's sales on choice cuts, 306.49, up $1.85. Your late Friday sales were about $1 higher than that. So they're finally starting to get that demand coming, which we knew it was going to come. It was just slow getting here. Select weighted average on all of last week's sales. Select cuts 281.30, up 322. But your late sales on Friday were about $1 cheaper than that. But on the weighted average on the big movement, your choice select spread a little over $25, $25.19 and 631 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. And that's not bad, and we've been having pretty brisk sales of spot trade there on your box beef cutouts. Slaughter for the week last week, 636,000. That's 2,000 less than the previous week, 31,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. If you guys aren't watching or going on to NationalBeefWire.com, you're missing out. That is affiliated with the Feeder Flash and DVAuction, but NationalBeefWire.com has more news about the cattle industry, markets, everything that's going on, product information, lots and lots of stuff on NationalBeefWire.com. Ought to be your go-to place. You can find this report there every day. You can find your real-time index on there every day, and it's always up to date. It's a very valuable website, so be sure and put that on your favorites, NationalBeefWire.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market last week. Your real-time index on DVAuction ended the week at 231.50 based on an 800-pound steer. That was $10.28 lower than the end of the previous week. That's how much lower we are. And some of those would be big calves weighing in the sevens because it goes from 7 to 8.99. So it fell a bunch. CME cash feeder cattle index, 239.73. It was only down $4.27 for the week. Same deal. Not sure what's going on there, but it's costing people on their trade out on their LRPs. And a lot of them are getting frustrated with that. Your cash feeders in your auctions were $5 to $12 lower. I mean, all throughout your sales. So how could your CME cash feeder cattle index only be a little over $4 lower when your real-time index was $10.28 lower? Your big calves, like I said, a lot of them $20 lower. A lot of them are weighing in the 7s in the northern plains. They'd be pulling that weighted average down. Light wean calves were steady in a lot of places. But give you some individual quotes from all around. How about Santa Teresa livestock auction in Santa Teresa, New Mexico? Those are Mexican cattle selling in the United States, and they're ready to go anywhere. 55 steers weighed 511 at $243. That might sound good to you. You might want to get an order in or start watching them on DVAuction.com every Friday and kind of get familiar with it and think about buying some on there. How about St. Onge Livestock, St. Onge, South Dakota? My buddy Justin Tupper there, he sold 118 steer calves, weighed 473 at $326. That's about the extreme top you could see anywhere on cattle weighing right around 500 pounds even there. Fort Pierre livestock auction in Fort Pierre, South Dakota had 8,600 on Friday. Big sale for them. Lots and lots of calves. Their 5-weight steers, they had over 2,200 5-weight steers. They averaged 554 pounds with a weighted average price on all of them at $298.81. So that's pretty respectable, but that's still sharply lower than the previous week. They did have a load of yearlings there I thought sold really well. 64 yearling steers weighed 813 and bring 254. How about Crawford Livestock Market? They sell 179 steer calves weighed 690 at 281. That's pretty impressive right there. But the best prices that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend at Winter Livestock Auction in Winter, South Dakota. Talked to Nick Hayes there. They sold quite a deal there. They had 738 black baldy cattle in the feed yard, and they sold them in the feed yard, weighed 1142, and they bring 209.95. Wow, you got to hurry up and cheapen those things back up, but people got cheap corn around, guys. But your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Winter Livestock Auction. It was 117 steers, weighed 610 pounds at 304. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.